Welcome into episode 475 of the Skate Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, joined in person by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. We talked about how we want to do this a little bit more this year because Bridget has her nice camera set up. And so here's our second go-around with this, and you guys came straight from captain's practice today.
Yeah, another day of captain's practice. It was the third for them. It was the second that media was at. A lot more guys there today. So we talked about on our last podcast that Poitras wasn't there, Lysell wasn't there. They were both, and Middlestat, they were all there today. Kastelik was another guy that was there that wasn't there the first day. Still no Hampus or Elias Lindholm, no Corrali, no Janot, no Eastmont. But there were definitely more guys on the ice today, and they mostly did the same thing. It was a majority of what they did was a scrimmage because they said they wanted to do pretty much full pace as close to a game as they could do.
Yeah, they did. It was like 5-on-5 for the first session. Then they cleaned the ice, came back. They did mostly 3-on-3, which, quite frankly, I just as an observer is a complete waste of time. You learn very little in watching a 3-on-3 captain's practice scrimmage.
Nikita Zadorov scored in the 3-on-3, if that tells anyone anything.
Yeah, I think Poitras had a couple goals in there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hey, look, maybe those guys get to play in overtime more or
we'll
something.
see. We'll see if Zadorov gets that breakaway chance in overtime one day this year.
I think that's what I honestly like. That needs to be a season prediction: is Nikita Zadorov breakaway overtime winner.
Can I give a quick prediction? I'm going to go on record now and say that Nikita Zadorov records one Gordie Howe hat trick next season.
Ooh.
If he has a goal and an assist in a game, you bet your ass he's going to try to get the fight too.
I hope
and
so.
honestly, him getting a goal and an assist in one game is not out of the question for him. He's capable of putting up offense here and there.
That's true. The only hang up there is he's one of those guys that I think a lot of players, even guys who fight somewhat regularly, just won't want to fight.
Yeah.
So like unless there's like a real reason for them to do it. I mean, we saw, Sam Bennett fought like quote fingers. I mean, clearly didn't really want to a part of that, didn't want to go all the ways down that road. So you might get a lot of that.
Well,
too.
it that's the thing, right? So it's like when you're a bodybuilder, you never have to fight anyone because no one wants to fight you. Like when you're just massive and you're like Nikita Zadorov, you probably will have fewer takers. But I like your prediction. We haven't. Are we going to do a bold predictions episode? I mean, that's not super bold, but that's.
Yeah, of course, Bridget.
Okay.
That's your favorite episode.
No, that's my least favorite episode.
Yeah, we're still kind of in that weird pre-training camp gap where we still have to kind of reserve some content for some preseason Bruins predictions, player predictions, divisional predictions, league-wide predictions. So those things are all coming. But we just can't get to it just yet because that's more of a training camp.
I don't know. I feel like though we are in real time when we're watching the captain's practices, and next it'll be training camp. But I feel like I am like my opinions are developing, and like I'm starting to feel like a certain way about certain guys.
Ooh, okay.
I'm starting to form an opinion about who looks like they really are going to push again or push for a spot.
Hand up, I am not developing any opinions off two captains' practices, just to be completely honest.
You know what? It's more just you forget what they look like with certain guys, or it's been so long that you can talk yourself into stuff in the off season. Then when you start to see stuff again in person, you're like, maybe that wasn't what I really actually feel. So.
Yeah, but at the same time, during the off season, which is all we have to go off of, is a lot of player movement and transactions. And the reality is, and I'm not going to give away the names you're thinking about, Bridget, but Don Sweeney did go out and sign a lot of external players to battle for roster spots. We've talked about them already. Who
have not really, they haven't been at the captain's practice yet. So we actually haven't seen. So I really don't have any opinion on those guys yet.
But the fact that Sweeney signed those players to try to make the team, as spectators, we have to give those guys, the potential to make the team as well. Like, these are things that Don Sweeney did, so we're reacting to what is going to be internal competition, right? So it's not like we're saying, oh, these two young players that have been around for a while we just don't think they're going to make the team. No, it's not that. We're just saying they're going to have to earn it because they have that competition. And we didn't go out and sign those guys. Sweeney did. So we're just reacting to that.
Yeah, and quickly before we dive into opening shifts, Bridge, I don't know if you mentioned Mason Lorai was another one who, who was there today. He was at Warrior on Tuesday, but he wasn't on the ice. So we haven't talked to him, so I don't know if it could be he's dealing with something minor, or it could just be guys are on kind of different schedules.
Yeah, like McAvoy didn't practice today, but he did the first day.
Right.
So like some guys just take different days off.
Yeah, because someone is on the ice pretty much every day. Like even if there's not a formal captain's practice, there's guys who will be there in the morning skating. But yeah, it's not going to be everyone on the exact same plan as they ramp up to day one of training camp on September 17th. Want me to go first on opening shifts?
Yeah.
So one of the players we got to talk to on Thursday was Jeremy Swayman, who obviously is going to be a major focal point over this next month as we get ready for the start of the regular season. Obviously he was a focal point last year for very different reasons at this time of year, because he did not have a contract, and those negotiations continued all throughout training camp in the preseason, spilled over into a public war of words between Cam Neely and his agent, and was not resolved until right before opening night. This year, obviously, there are not any of those doubts or concerns for Swayman. You know, he's there now. He's going to be there throughout training camp. The questions this year are, is he going to bounce back? Is he in a better spot mentally, physically, all of it? And he talked about that after practice, said he feels like a completely different person from this time last year. Said, basically, without fully admitting it, basically acknowledged how much missing training camp last year.
Yeah, I have the quote.
Did affect him, where, at this time last year, or I should say, as we got closer to the regular season after he signed his contract, he felt like he was ready to go. He felt like the work he had done over at Boston University had still prepared him, and he was going to be able to just step right in and be off and running. Now he was able to look back and acknowledge that was probably naive. That didn't really work that way. He called it, very important time of the year. Said, he's looking forward to being here throughout this team building process, which obviously he missed out on last year. So, he
wants to elude love to the teammates.
Yes, he used the word elude.
I think he meant
incorrectly.
exude. I think he meant exude love.
That would make a lot more sense.
That's what I thought at the time, and then I listened back to it, and I was like, no, he did say elude, but he meant exude. But I'll read the quote just real quick before we get to the next opening shift. He said when he was asked about, attending training camp this year, he kind of laughed and he said, I'm so excited. It's an extremely important time of the year. And if I didn't have that experience, meaning last year, I probably wouldn't understand the importance of it. So yeah, it's definitely allowed me to prepare a little differently coming to training camp time and looking forward to it. So basically live and learn, kind of. Knows that last year it was something that he missed out on, and it may have affected his play in the beginning of the season, at least.
Yeah, so I think there's more to get into there. I'll leave it there for now, but he talked about the experience of World Championships and that giving him something to build on. So we can certainly get into Jeremy Swayman more.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next. So the three players we talked to after practice today was Swayman, like Scott mentioned. That's where we're quoting from, and Matt Poitras and Fabian Lysell. So two of the younger guys who we wanted to see on the ice again. And my opening shift will stick more to Matt Poitras and just what he has been up to this offseason and what he's trying to do coming in. And he said he once again put on weight, feels like he got stronger, which he did last offseason. Now he's going into his third season. Obviously, he hasn't had a full season, but this is going to be his third season in the NHL, which kind of crazy, kind of came up on us quick, probably because he's played so few NHL games in that time. But like coming in as a 19-year-old now, it'll be interesting to see what changes. And he did look to be a little bit bigger. So maybe that's something that can help him stick this season. And I will say he though Scott's not forming any opinions, I thought he did stick out in captain's practice today because and what I'm specifically talking about is just the playmaking. I know some guys are being lackadaisical. I will say this captain's practice felt, the two that we've been to, felt like the intensity was there because they're very clearly trying to avoid what happened last training camp, which was complacency. So the pace was better than your normal captain's practice. I'll just put it that way. And he's making these great plays, no-look passes. He made this really great pass from the bumper. He made some good plays on zone entries, mostly as a winger. But it's him. Like, none of the guys have numbers on, right? So it's like a pain in the ass to try to see who's doing what.
No, just the halo over Kuzi's head, which is what I said to Scott on Twitter recently.
So it's like you kind of have to go off their body language, and like I would look over and see like someone make this crazy pass, and it was like, oh, that was Poitras. And it just felt like it was normally him doing those things, and it reminded me of his playmaking. And I know because they added some of those guys in the offseason, it's going to be an uphill battle for him to make the team out of camp. But it was just a reminder in our faces of like, he is skilled enough to make this team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he absolutely is skilled enough. I think a lot of these guys that we're talking about that are on the bubble, they all have the skill. It's about consistency, and that's a very tough attribute to have at the NHL level.
Well, the good thing for him, and I think it was you that asked him about it, Scott, is he always seems to come strong out of the gate. Like, He comes ready, prepared. He said he feels like he's in great shape. He was one of the guys doing the sprints, which we'll get to. But he says he feels like his conditioning is good. He's strong. He feels fresh. And just by the looks of everyone else ramping up and how slow like some other people are in the process, he might have an advantage again to start out because he just tends to bring it from the beginning.
Yeah, the few things that I'm looking for with Poitras in particular, and I want to see this in training camp, and I want to see it whether he starts in Boston or Providence. But there's no denying his hockey IQ. He's a smart player. He's a responsible player, and he has good creativity and offensive skills. Where I want to see improvement from him is, you mentioned his size, right? I want to see him be physically more mature when it comes to one-on-one battles and staying healthy as best as you can at the NHL. Obviously, injuries is luck sometimes, or dumb luck. You can have the biggest guy in the league get hurt. It's not all about size, but you can put yourself in the best position possible to handle the physicality of the game. And then the other thing, too, is I want to see the strength of his shot increase. He's a good passer, but I want to see his shooting just get a little bit more power behind it. And I've yet to put eyes on him in person this year. And even at captain's practice, I'm sure he's just kind of having a good time. But
he scored probably more than anyone else there today. I mean, he was putting pucks in.
But like, can you notice?
He had one nice finish that I caught.
Okay.
Where he buried a shot over, I think it was against Swayman.
Yeah, it was.
Over his arm from like the dot or just inside the dot. So like,
right.
That's obviously like, he's not going to be scoring from out, the top of the circle on a one-timer. But if he can bury shots from, or at least challenge goalies from the dot, like on a shot with pace, that's something that like we haven't even really seen him do in the NHL. So that has to be part of his game.
And that's something that most top 6 NHL forwards have the ability to do, which is just to finish from distance. And a lot of Bruins fans believe that Poitras should be a top 6 forward now, or certainly in the near future. And if that's the case, he has to be able to do that. And so, Bridget, you're right to bring him up, and we can talk about him as well as we go on. But you mentioned how this most recent captain's practice, the pace was increased a little bit. And Scott tweeted out that they were kind of doing Herbie's, some full-length skating drills for endurance and conditioning purposes, and it may not have been all the guys, just some of the younger players.
Yeah, it was probably about 10 of the younger guys. Yeah. Beecher, Poitras, Lysell,
Minton was in there. I think Ty Gallagher.
Yeah, some of the Providence guys too.
So it just tells me that organizationally the Bruins, and you mentioned this too, Bridget. You exuded to this, Bridget.
Thanks.
No, you alluded.
Good callback.
You alluded to this earlier, where they're trying to avoid their mistakes from last year, and I think the Bruins are looking at the beginning of this. If they want to make the playoffs, they have to have a strong start, and you can take advantage of teams out of the gate if you're ready to go come puck drop in October and other teams aren't, even if they have more skill, because there are training camps around the league this coming season that will be more complacent than others, more passive, teams that have been there, done that. The Bruins aren't going to have that kind of camp. They're going to be very intense. They're going to try to right some wrongs. And I do think that regardless of the amount of talent or lack thereof the Bruins have on opening night, I do think that they will be ready to go. And they're going to try to take advantage of teams in October and have a good start. So I think when you're seeing some of these drills in captain's practice where younger players are doing, skating drills, and you're seeing the attendance alone, it's just another indication that come September 17th, fans and media alike can expect a very blue-collar, intense training camp where guys are going to fight for spots.
Yeah, and, every year people talk about standings on Thanksgiving, and obviously it's not, it's not 100%, but by and large, teams that are in a playoff spot come Thanksgiving hold on to it. If you're out of a playoff spot come Thanksgiving, it is hard to catch up in a league that has overtime points and point for an overtime or shootout loss and all that stuff. So, yet starting strong, especially when you're not one of the most skilled teams, is huge. And it can go so far to building confidence, to getting the Marco Sturm era off to the right start. Players feeling good about themselves, starting to believe that build. If you're just more ready to start the season, that can start to build. Doesn't mean they're going to be cup contenders or anything crazy, but if you're talking about how do they get to a competitive, interesting season where they're still playing meaningful hockey come March, it has to start right away. This is not a team that's going to be able to fall behind in October and November and play catch up. I would have a really hard time seeing that.
Yeah. No, and obviously one of the other key storylines or questions to flesh itself out this preseason is the whole leadership conversation, which we talked a lot about last episode because we talked to McAvoy and Pasternak right before that. But Swayman was asked about this too today, and how he feels like, what his role in leadership could be. And he talked about being kind of feeling more established now, and maybe being part of the leadership structure, in as they maybe don't even plan to have a captain, just have more voices involved.
Well, I thought it was interesting that when he was talking about that, he referenced, because it was asked by Joe Haggerty, the setup was basically, goalies don't often wear letters, or really never wear letters in the NHL, but can they still be a leader? And Swayman talked about how, some of the all-time great goalies are goalies he grew up watching, and he referenced them leading by example and kind of being quiet leaders, which I just thought was interesting because I feel like there were times last year, quite frankly, where Swayman tried to be a vocal leader, and even through things he would say in the media and talk about wanting to set an example and have guys follow him. And he referenced that a little bit today, but I also felt like maybe there's just a little bit of an acknowledgement of I don't know, more let my play do the talking, let my work ethic do the talking type of thing. That I just thought was a little interesting to hear him talk about leading by example versus him being oh yeah, I'm gonna be in here, giving speeches or out on the ice rallying the troops type of thing.
But the best players can do both, right? People are more apt to listen to you as a leader if you are also leading by example. So you really do need to have that to be able to vocally speak up as well. Brian, you agree with that? A lot of times, if you're having a down season and you're getting on someone else to play better, that's not really taken as receptively as if you're backing it up.
Yeah, and Scott, don't forget where you were going if you had another point to finish.
No.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's true, Bridget. The best leaders can do both, but I will say I think the goaltending position, there's so much going on between the ears for a goalie on an 82 game basis. You don't really want to have to worry about everybody else and add to that plate by being like, I also got to be a rah-rah guy for everybody else. No, just
But it kind of
focus
feel
on
like
your
it
game
might.
because there's enough there to keep you busy.
And
Kind of like what Brooke says to Jim Craig in the movie. It's like, you got plenty there to keep you busy. It's like,
yeah.
you know
Well,
what I mean?
and you're not on the bench during the game. So it's like, so what? Like, you're going to go over during commercial break and say, like, speak up and say something? And it's like, well, what if the guys on the bench have already talked about that, between shifts or something? So, like, it's just harder to do as a goalie.
It's tough to get on a teammate for not forechecking a certain way or not having the right neutral zone play when you're letting a muffin in from 60 feet. Like, you have to kind of just focus on yourself. And when Swayman talks about leading by example and being a quiet leader, I do think to the quote and that Bridget mentioned earlier, like, I think he's learning. Well, he's saying the right things that he's learning from last year, both before the season and during the season. Because you're right, Scott. I do think last year he took it upon himself to be more of a vocal leader. And we talked about him trying to get in a fight in LA where the season was gone at that point, but it just more seemed like a distraction than anything else.
No, it wasn't. That's what the media wants you to think. I needed that fight to happen for my own mental health. I needed him to get into that goalie fight.
Like I said, I just think like his teammates would rather him stop the puck.
One of his teammates quite famously did not seem to be a big fan of him trying to fight.
This became a topic only because of that. Like,
well,
in real time,
but that it offers a window into what's going on. Like,
in real time,
clearly that was not received as like
no,
as like, hell yeah, our goalie's got our back. Otherwise, that's what Nikita Zadorov would have said instead of saying like, is that what he was trying to do?
It came on a West Coast road trip where they lost to the Ducks and Sharks like a combined score of like 10-4 or something, and then they were playing the Kings and getting their they're getting their ass kicked too.
Hence why that would have been the most fun part of that road trip.
But ultimately, and look, if it caused a goalie fight highlight, like, it would have been fun to watch. I'm just saying, big picture though, like, I think what Swayman is alluding to is that last year he was clearly a distraction for his team before the season even began, and then his play didn't back it up during the year, and now he's just saying, you know what, I probably know in retrospect that I'm playing for an original six team in Boston, and I may have been given some bad advice, or I just didn't have enough recognition when I was on that podcast in the summer to talk about an ongoing contract negotiation. So, like, I think he's just learning. Like, Boston's a hub. You have to be careful about what you do as a pro athlete because it can create headlines and negative attention. And I think a lot of the things you're hearing him say now is just him learning from last year. That's all.
I have one final thought on this, like, topic of Swayman as a leader. I do feel like his natural personality is to speak up and to communicate, though. So, like, I don't know if he was ever really forcing it and try. Like, I just think he naturally likes to talk to people and, like, he speaks what he's thinking.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I don't think anyone has an issue with that, but it's. And I wish I had like an exact quote from last year to pull up, but there were times where he would talk about himself leading and like dragging guys along with them. And if that's David Pastrnak saying that in the midst of a great season on a bad team, like, that's one thing. When you're saying that and you're struggling yourself, like, it's just really hard. Like, it's
tone deaf.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, it becomes natural for a teammate to look at that and be like, yeah, I get that, you're trying to say the right thing. We're all trying to do the right thing, but, like, figure out your own game first, type of thing. Like, it's just hard to lead from the front when you're not having the season that everyone expects you to have.
So I guess that's another storyline to pay attention to, because he is one of the key guys on this team that has to have a good season. It's like, I'd put him right up there with McAvoy and Pastrnak. Like, Swayman, those are the three.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the single most important story for the Bruins this year. Like, even above coaching change is Jeremy Swayman bouncing back or not bouncing back. Like, that's, given his contract, given how important he is to this team, given obviously how important goaltending is, like, it needs to happen. I can't imagine a path to this team being competitive or being in the playoff hunt that doesn't include Jeremy Swayman having a pretty significant bounce back season.
Short term and long term. And in the short term, yeah, both spectrums are pretty drastic because if he bounces back, then we're sitting here saying, all right, last year was a bit of an anomaly. 3 out of the 4 years we've seen him play, he's been a damn good goaltender, and we can justify the contract, and we're not too worried about it, right? But if he continues to suck like he did last year, then we're going to be sitting here talking about a guy who is about to enter a no movement portion of his contract at season's end. And oh boy, should they move him now if they even can? So it's drastic. It's a drastic difference. So he'll dictate what we're talking about in months' time. But yeah, it's a storyline that is going to be front and center this year for sure.
Yeah, and I guess kind of already off to a better start, at least optimistically, already off to a better start for this outlook for this season with winning gold with USA and that kind of being like a turning the page moment. And like, he obviously very prideful of that. Him wanting to continue that with the Olympic team is probably another motivating factor for him this season. Obviously has to play well in the NHL for that to happen. So
right. Yeah, because like if you look at it right now, it's like he clearly has the inside track to making that team. There were only 4 goalies at their initiation camp or whatever they were calling it out in Michigan last week or the week before. 2 of them are locks to be on the team, Connor Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger. And so then it's Jeremy Swayman versus Joey Decord for the 3rd spot. And you would have to give Swayman the inside track because A, he was on the 4 Nations team, and B, he outperformed Decord at Worlds. Those are the 2 goalies. Swayman ran with the number 1 job and played the whole knockout round, including a shutout in the gold medal game which went to overtime. US won 1-0 against Switzerland. So all that together gives him the inside track. But that could change quickly if he struggles out of the gate and Joey Decord's having a great year for Seattle. So, I also think like that's going to be interesting, not just for the Bruins, but league wide. Like you saw it last year with 4 Nations, but it's been so long since the NHL has been to the Olympics that you forget how much motivation that is for a lot of these guys, especially probably 95% of the guys going have never been to the Olympics because it's been 12 years. Like how much of a motivation that is for a lot of these guys, for Swayman to earn a spot in that team, for Charlie McAvoy is going to be on the team. We know that already. But for him to be playing great hockey and to feel good about his game and to be able to be a top pairing defenseman for the U.S. as they try to win gold, like it's, and you can go up and down the board across all the other guys who are going to be going. But like, just because those are 2 that we've talked to in the last couple of days, like it stands out like how much it means to them. And they're trying not to get ahead of things and they're focused on the Bruins now, but it's there and they've acknowledged that it's there.
Side note here, outside of Sidney Crosby and then Patrick Kane, who's going to have his work severely cut out for him, and I think he's on the outside looking in right now, who are other candidates to play in their 2nd Olympic? I should say
Crosby's already been to
multiple Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, last
who's been to the Olympics before? Yeah.
And last Olympics, even though there was no NHL players, there were a couple of Americans that were in college, like Matty Beniers and Matthew Nyes and a couple others.
Yeah.
But Matthew Nyes has a shot. Beniers could have an outside chance. But let's just stick to Crosby and Patrick Kane. Is there anybody else that's, because you said it's got 12 years. So
Marchand?
That's pre-McKinnon. That's Marchand.
Marchand never been.
He was a 2016 World Cup of Hockey participant, but he was not an Olympic participant.
Correct.
So
I'm trying to think. Was
like Pietrangelo? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was wondering about Pietrangelo or Doughty.
Doughty would have been probably in 2010.
Or even 14.
Both. 14 for sure. Yeah.
Victor Hedman, was he on Sweden at that point?
Yeah, Hedman would have been there too. Erik Karlsson maybe.
Yep, Karlsson for sure.
So there's a couple others.
Yeah, but not a lot.
Not a lot.
Like
12 years will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which stinks.
Yeah, but hey, we're looking ahead now. We're looking ahead now, and thanks to Matty Walsh, We have World Cup of Hockey and Olympics every 2 years now, so that'll be good. But aside from Swayman, I think we can probably move on to maybe Bridget's opening shift, which is just... Was it Matt Poitras you wanted to talk about?
Poitras and Lysell, we can lump in some of the younger bubble guys, I guess. We could talk about them.
Yeah, I guess just right off the bat, because, again, I know I said this on the last podcast, but, like, you can't get worked up over a guy not being there on day one of Captain's practices. If it stretches into the second week and they're still not in town, I think it's fair to start to ask some questions if it's a bubble guy or a young player. So Poitras and Lysell especially, because I think people are just looking for reasons to be negative. Those were two of the guys that, that weren't there on Tuesday, who kind of got some reaction where people were like, why wouldn't they be there? Well, they were there Thursday, and I think both of them were even on the ice Wednesday for the second day. So, like, that's fine. Like, there is nothing wrong with that at all. So, Poitras's actually been in town for a couple weeks, he said. So, he's been on the ice with these guys before then, just wasn't on the ice Tuesday for whatever reason.
Yeah, he was Wednesday and Thursday, though.
Yeah, and Lysell just got into town from Sweden this week. So, right off the back, like, start there. Like, no, neither one of those guys is going to miss a week for some reason. They got there. They just weren't there right from the very start. And I think that's fine. And if people want to still try to, freak out about that and say Fabian Lysell doesn't want it or something, like, knock yourself out.
Yeah, and Lysell talked kind of about, and maybe you asked this question too, what he was working on this offseason. And he said, last summer I was building muscle and strength. This summer is more a progression towards power and speed. And he said, my body feels fresher.
Yeah, and I also asked him about that speed, because I think he's always had speed. He's always been a great skater. But we've seen him at times when he was up in the NHL or even like in preseason games where he would use the speed to get a step or two on a defenseman wide and then not turn it into anything. Like, just end up in the corner, end up staying wide, take an angle that would allow the defenseman to catch up with him and poke the puck away. And it's like, so I asked him, I was like, are there things you have to learn in terms of how to use that speed at the NHL level? And his answer, I thought, sounded like someone who has learned some things and is learning. He talked about, like, there's not many guys who can beat NHL defensemen one-on-one. So he talked about using your teammates more and then going to an open area to get the puck back, which is like, that's the whole game. Like, that's the whole offensive game in the NHL. You're not... David Pastrnak might do it sometimes. Connor McDavid can do it. Nathan McKinnon. There aren't too many others who can consistently take NHL defensemen one-on-one and have it result in quality scoring chances. So Fabian Lysell learning to use his teammates, make a pass instead of trying to just blow by a defenseman is an important step. It's something he needs to learn. Like, we've even heard that from Providence, where Ryan Mougenel highlighted that and said it was something Fabian Lysell had to learn. So, we'll see how that shows up on the ice come training camp and preseason games, but he does at least sound like someone who is taking some lessons to heart.
Well, even the guys that can beat players one-on-one, you don't want them doing it all the time either, because it can it can lead to bad habits and inconsistency, because even the guys who can do it, their success rate of doing so is not 100. And you, like, for example, David Pastrnak has the ability to turn a defenseman inside out and go through his legs or something. If David Pastrnak did that every time he had the puck one-on-one with a defenseman, you'd pull your hair out, because it would lead to turnovers most of the time. So you do want
the good news is no one in Boston has ever freaked out about Pasternak's turnovers. So.
Right. Or even McDavid. McDavid has the ability to blow past players, but if he does it every time, then he's probably not going to have many passing options behind him, because he's so far ahead of the play. You have to be able to play with the people around you. Obviously, it's a team sport. So,
yeah, and another thing about Lysell and the bubble conversation, somebody asked him directly about seeing the offseason additions that Sweeney made like Jeannot and Corrali and Isamon, and asked him where he thinks he fits now, and like, was that something that he, was hard for him to see? And he was basically, he acknowledged it, but he was like, there's not much I can do about that, like but it has created a more of a difficult pathway for him to get a spot.
Yeah, he said, like, he hasn't given it too much thought, which is the right approach. Like, you can't, if you're a young player and you look at who the team adds and goes, oh, there goes my shot, then you're right, there goes your shot. Like, you have to believe that you have every shot to make the team, and that has to be your approach. So, yeah, he better not allow that to be in his head at all. Same with all the young players. Like, that's not a good way to mentally approach any training camp.
But at the same time, you aren't blind to what's going on around you. You do know who your competition is, right? And you do size yourself up against who you have to go up against. Because Scott's right. You want to have that inner confidence of, it's my spot to win, right? Or my spot to lose. Maybe that's the better way to put it. But he knows who he's up against. And some of the guys Sweeney brought in, he's not really up against, right? He's not up against Mont or Beecher per se, because Fabian's not really going to be a fourth liner. Tanner Jeannot is going to start in the third line, but again, he's on the left side. So if you're Fabian Lysell, you're looking namely at Poitras, maybe Husadinov, if he plays the right side. Husadinov, he's a righty, right? Or a lefty?
He's a left
he
shot,
he has to be on the offside, but he's looking at Poitras, Husadinov. He's looking at Mate Blumel, maybe Steves, Losh Mellis. Those five guys, Minton as well, but again, I think Minton's going to be probably a center candidate, and that could lead us to talking about maybe Poitras was getting some reps at the wing. Maybe he knows that too. But I just think that Lysell's he knows who he's looking at, is my point. Yeah, for that competition.
I think Poitras definitely knows that wing is more of a likely pathway for him to make the team this year. He did, and now he said this when we talked to him. He said, don't read too much into it. It was just three guys over the boards and three guys, three guys off. But he didn't
he specifically said five guys over the board, so he was even including defensemen.
But I didn't see him take a single shift at center.
I did. He took a couple.
He was, what do you say, 70% at wing? Like, least, he was just really not playing positionally.
But by the way, Lysell also took some shifts playing left wing, playing his off wing,
him
including
and
someone on a line with Pasta.
Yeah, they were out there together.
Wow. Like, by the way, Lysell actually played right D. So, it's actually, I wonder if you guys feel the same way. It's not me saying that I think Minton has the inside track to 3C over Poitras. It's not necessarily me saying I think Minton has a higher ceiling as a center. It's more about fit. And what I mean by that is, it's almost as if I feel like Poitras would have a better chance of making the team as a center if the Bruins had a vacancy at 2C as opposed to 3C. Like, that, to me, being a top six pivot because of his skill set and then having top six wingers around him, I feel like Poitras would be more suited in time as like a top six center than he would a third line center, which is why I keep saying I think Minton is that guy, which is why it leaves right wing open for Poitras, because you obviously have Mittelstadt, Zacha, one of the two of them, and then you have Elias Lindholm as well.
Yeah, and we've mentioned before the Casey, like, not only Casey Mittelstadt occupying, we think, that second line center spot, but also stylistically where Mittelstadt and Poitras would both be centers that you would want to and probably have to protect to an extent. And by that I mean give them like some favorable offensive zone shifts. Though neither one of them are guys that you're going to bury in the D zone or give the toughest defensive matchups to. Like, that's just not their strength. So that's not what you would want to do. And it's, okay, well, is there room for two centers in my middle six that I want to treat that way? By the way, if Elias Lindholm's on a line with Pasternak and Geeky, he's going to get a lot of offensive zone shifts too, because you're not burying those guys in the defensive zone. So it's like someone has to play D zone shifts. Like, you're not going to be in the offensive zone the whole time. This team might not be in the offensive zone a lot at all. So, like, someone has to be in the D zone. Someone has to take those assignments. And yeah, Fraser Minton profiles as a player more likely to be able to handle that. So Poitras bump him to the wing, then it's easier to protect a guy. Then, sometimes for a D-zone faceoff, you'll roll out 2 centers, and Poitras might start that shift on the bench. And then once you get going up ice, he changes on. So, there's ways to manage that, I think, more with a wing than to have 2 centers that you're trying to, kind of protect that way.
Middlestat kind of throws a wrench into things when it comes to Poitras' existence in this lineup for a few reasons, because I could also see a scenario where you have a third line, whether it's to start the year or at some point, of Jeannot on the left, Fraser Minton in the middle, and then Victor Arvidsson on the right. And then you could have a second line of Zacha, Middlestat, and Poitras, but I don't see Poitras and Middlestat on the same line as being something that would be great. Just for maybe creativity wise, yeah, maybe, but just from a sheer size perspective, along with Zacha, who's not the most physical guy, despite him being bigger. So even if Arvidsson went down to the third line, as long as Middlestat's on that second line, I just don't see him and Poitras together.
Yeah, and especially a Zacha, Middlestat, Poitras line. It's
3 centers on the same line.
Well, 3 centers, but also 3 pass first players.
Yeah.
Who all can play wing too.
Who's shooting on that line. So, at least if Victor Arvidsson's there, whatever else you want to say about him, he'll shoot. You get him into a scoring area, he's going to shoot.
He'll go to that too.
Sometimes his shooting percentage isn't as good as you'd like, but he'll let it fly. I will just quickly note that I know, as I said, I'm not trying to overreact to anything we saw. 2 captain's prizes, but Victor Arvidsson has had some nice finishes.
He had a snipe today.
Yeah.
I wasn't too thrilled about the Arvidsson trade, especially because it came right before, a half hour before the opening of free agency. I was a little bit confused by it. And I still, right as we sit here today, I don't think he's a top 6 winger at this stage in his career. But to your point, Scott, especially in a captain's practice setting, there was a time in his career where he was a straight up top 6 forward and a perennial 20 goal scorer for a couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I'm not just completely negating the fact that he could have a good year for them and be better than I thought, and maybe that acquisition, while I don't see it being a long-term fit in Boston, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, he could be a good player for them. We'll see.
Yeah, and again, it's early to have this conversation, but he's a player that if he is playing in the top 6 and he's getting power play time and he starts putting up some points, if you're not really a playoff team come trade deadline season, well, that's a kind of player that other teams might be looking for. Middle 6 winger who can shoot and ideally would be putting up points for you at that point in the season. And all of a sudden you get something back for a player that you took on without really giving up much of anything to get.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's anything to be said about Marco Sturm's, him obviously being the one to make the final roster decisions, maybe being a little bit pro younger guys?
Well, first off, he won't be the one making final. He'll have a say.
Yeah,
but those are ultimately Don Sweeney calls.
Yeah, but he's sitting in that room and he's saying, these are the guys I think are gonna fit best to what I want to do.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see because he's had experience with both things, right? He was part of an LA coaching staff when they went through their own retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it, but had to start incorporating younger players. Obviously, he's been an AHL coach, so he's been around younger players there. He was also part of teams here in Boston who had a really strong veteran presence as they also built up towards eventually being a Stanley Cup team that I think would inform his experience in a way that he recognizes the value of veteran role players too. So I'm sure both of those things are in his mind, and I could see him going either way depending on the player, the role. But I don't know if I'd be ready now to say he necessarily will lean towards younger players or want a younger team.
I don't think leaning towards younger players, unless they just really outright earn it, is probably what the safest course of action is for them to try to implement some structure and stability. Because when you look at the Bruins players, some of the Bruins players who are locks to be on the team, like David Pastrnak, Casey Middlestad, Mason Lohrei, and others, like there are some mainstay Bruins players that defense isn't their strength. So to add any younger players to those guys might not be the best way to start a season where you're trying to lay the groundwork for what's going to be a responsible, well-structured team. Whereas if you have a Victor Arvidsson and a Tanner Jeannot and a Sean Corrali, you're able to balance out the other main roster players where defense isn't their strong suit while you're trying to implement a new system. And I know that's not the sexiest answer for some fans to hear. Well, that's bullshit because you're not going to make the playoffs if you don't play talent. I understand that. I think there's a time and a place for it. You might, if any of the younger players that you want on this Bruins roster aren't there on opening night, I'm sure that they will be in short order, but I think the Bruins just have some housekeeping to do on the ice to start the year, and it might be better to have some veterans there.
How do you think Poitras and Lysell fit into a 1-3-1?
Yeah.
They're not doing it, Scott. They're confirmed by Nikita Zadorov not doing that. So Marco Sturm's going to be available Friday, Yep.
Friday late afternoon, evening.
I'll be there.
The Bruins are doing, what are they calling these?
FanFest.
FanFest, yeah.
Yep.
So there's 3 of them Friday, Saturday, Sunday in different spots. And Marco Sturm's going to be at Fridays down in Hanover. So heads up if anyone's listening to this on Friday and is in that area. A little too long of a drive for me from Lowell, but
Well, it's like a half hour for me. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go.
I think on a Friday afternoon in rush hour for me from Lowell, that'd be like 2 hours, I think.
Yikes.
Like, so
By the way-
I will not be there. But anyways, what I was getting at is I told Bridget, ask Sturm if she's going to make Zadorov play a 1-3-1.
I'll ask him.
By the
That's my
way-
first question to him.
Scott, and for those listening who this may apply to or know what I'm talking about, Augusta's is opening up a second location in Tingsboro.
I meant to mention that to you.
which is the town next to where I grew up and where my parents live.
Yeah, it's gonna be like right in like the same plaza as the AMC Tingsboro movie theater, which is like my home theater. I'm there
Unreal.
all the time, so
Good
that's
for
gonna.
them.
If you want to, if you really want to sneak up on Scott and get an autograph, just go there.
People are about to find out how good Augusta's is because it's a tucked away salad bar, sub shop, convenience store in Billerica, and if you know, right? But I don't think a lot of people know. So there's a second location with a lot of density around there between the Nashua, Tingsboro, Drake, Lowell. People, it's just gonna be a great spot.
Come for the Bruins take, stay for the recommendations
Yeah.
for pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. I actually meant to mention that to you early because I was just coming down to our studio where we're recording. I stopped in the break room and there were ranch and honey mustard dipping sauces in there. No, whatever. I'm assuming it was chicken, but
Yeah, there's
that's
chicken
not
wings.
left. That doesn't survive. So
Right.
it
The
was
chicken
just,
wings are in the room behind us. I don't know if people are watching this. You can see the afternoon shows just going on behind us over here. But yeah, there was a wing drop from Shaw's.
Yeah, I ultimately, guys, just to kind of go back to the pre-Augustus conversation, I think truly, and I know the NHL in 2025 isn't the same as it was in the 2000s, mid-2000s, but honestly, if you want to know how the Bruins are going to play this year, I really do think, and I've said it before, go back and watch highlights and watch how that 07-08 Bruins team played, where they're playing a blue-collar style. And because they don't have the talent to play as flashy and as offensive as some of the better teams, but then fast forward a couple of years as they implemented talent, they did have that ability. And we know that the Bruins have players like James Higgins in the wings. And we spoke with Will Zellers last month. He's hopefully he makes the NHL one day. But if he does, it's probably 2-3 years away. Will Moore's another one. And there's some other prospects, and they have future drafts as well. But there is some younger help coming internally, and when that help is ready to be in the NHL, you'll start to see some more flash. But you have to build first, and I think that's what this year might be. And so they're gonna rely heavily on Scott's laid this out, break even 5-on-5, have good special teams, good goaltending, and maybe you make the playoffs as an 8 seed, you make some noise, and you're building towards something for the future. So I don't think there's any secrets as to how this Bruins team is going to play.
I did want to read just the dates in case people listening to this actually wanted to go to any of those Fan Fest events. Some of these might be near some of you guys. So Friday, like Scott said, Marco Sturm will be there in Hanover. 6 o'clock, that one starts. Saturday, they're doing one at Wallace Civic Center in Fitchburg, Mass., which is out west, right? That's almost in New York.
No, it's not that far. It's like a little north of Worcester-ish.
Okay.
It's like down off Route 2.
Am I thinking of Pittsfield? I don't know.
Pittsfield is very much out west.
Eastamont and Fraser Mitten will be at that. That starts at noon.
Where's Kuzi going to be?
Did
you say that yet?
I don't see him.
Oh, okay. Never
We
mind.
did see him today. He gives Scott a dirty look. He was actually looking for you and wondering where you were for his wedding this summer. But
Yeah, well,
Sunday.
can't give me a +1. That was pretty disrespectful.
Oh man! So Sunday, it's at Everett Arena in Concord, New Hampshire. Jordan Harris and Alex Steves will be there at noon. So
Everett, have you guys ever been to Everett Arena in Concord? It's a great barn. Oh, it's unreal. It's
I saw when I saw that pop up on the Bruins thing, I was like, because I growing up, I played in a lot of rinks in southern New Hampshire, and I was surprised. I was like, I don't think I've ever been to that one.
When I say it's an unreal barn, I don't mean from like a state of the art perspective. I mean like you feel like you're in a cornfield in the middle of Quebec somewhere. As far as like you go in and there's the ice is great, but you have seating behind the net. It's got one of those like cylinder type ceilings where it's a cool place. I played there growing up in high school and stuff, and it had great hockey rink fries. Oh boy, these were hand cut dark brown rink fries. They were so good. I don't know if they still have those, but
good
they
to
do.
know.
Yeah.
Maybe some people go get them Sunday, and then Tuesday is the Bruins Foundation golf tournament.
Yep, down in Plymouth that they do every year, like right before the start of camp.
Is that open to the public?
I don't think that's open to the public.
Okay. We'll be there, but I thought people... there's been times that I've gone in the past that, like, fans show up and, like, talk to players after or whatnot, so I'm not sure how open it is, but that's...
I mean, you definitely can't just, like, follow them around the golf course.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Should we grab a tea time?
Is there, like, a spectator section?
Not that I've ever seen.
All right, well, maybe not. Sorry, guys.
Any other dates you wanted to read off?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's it for now.
I got to get something off my chest.
May 17th.
What's that?
I don't know. I'm just naming dates.
Naming dates, a random date? Is that...
All right.
Okay.
Here's another date, September 3rd.
That's yesterday.
Yeah. You want to know what happened yesterday?
Yeah.
The Carolina Hurricanes debuted some of the worst white uniforms I've ever seen in my life.
What is that franchise doing?
They are absolute bums. I'm sorry, but they need to get their shit together. They had good... First of all, if you're going to take the whale out of Hartford and go down to Carolina, that's bad enough because you took away some of the best jerseys of all time. But when they did go down to Carolina, their initial set of uniforms was nice. It was as good as can be.
They were fine.
They were fine. For what their franchise was and everything, they were fine.
I tweeted yesterday that the Carolina Hurricanes, in my mind, are a team that has never had good jerseys. Like, even those, you're right, those original ones, which they brought back for like a 25-year thing at one point, those I might give like a 6 out of 10, and that is the highest I will go on any Carolina jersey. Which
isn't bad for a team in Carolina. But you know what they did have, though, was they at least had an identity. Like, you looked at them and like, that's the Hurricanes. They have changed uniforms probably 10 times over the last 5 years, whether it's we're using our alternates as homes this year, or we're going back to, or just changing the jerseys. Oh, this year we're going to wear red helmets with white jerseys. They are an absolute mess. Their logo is what it is, right? You look up the Carolina Hurricanes on NHL.com or online, you see what their main logo is.
It's not as good as this logo.
No, it's not.
It's our logo.
That Hurricanes logo, their main logo, isn't even featured anywhere on any of their two primary jerseys. None of the jerseys match. the helmets they are absolute clowns over there. All due respect, because they got a good hockey team.
They need to hire you.
Oh, talk about it.
Did you DM them?
They need a brand manager like an astronaut needs air. You know,
Ours,
we all need air.
I'm just, yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that, in fact, an astronaut would probably suffocate if they took the helmet off. So
you guys have been breathing air this whole time?
Yeah. Scott's like. But anyway, the Hurricanes are absolute terrible, aesthetically pleasing hockey teams. I hate them.
That's why they're only on national TV 10 times this year, despite being a good team.
My God. Makes my eyes bleed. What a shame.
That's the color of the jersey, actually.
Yeah. The Kraken debuted some third jerseys. Those ones are at least unique. Not bad for whatever. I mean, not my cup of tea, but they're okay.
Not as good as the Bruins?
Oh, not fuck no. I mean, the Bruins, I would say, best uniforms in the league. You have the Bruins, the Canadiens, the Red Wings, the Blackhawks, the Flames, the Oilers. Did I say the Maple Leafs? Maple Leafs. I like the Blues new ones, but they're probably tier 2. I think Pittsburgh has some elite jerseys. I might be missing somebody. The Rangers, of course. So I think there's like 7 teams, you have 8 teams that I think all have elite jerseys. All original 6 teams, and then I'm gonna go the Flames, the Oilers, and also the Sabres. So I'm gonna go. There's 9. There's 9 teams I think that don't touch them. Yeah.
All right. Well,
The Hurricanes are in the burn them category.
When are we going to see the Mammoth uniforms?
We saw them, I think.
Yeah,
they've dropped those. Oh, I missed
Well,
that.
it's the same uniforms as last year. They just put the Mammoth on the black jerseys, but the jerseys are all the same.
All right. Well,
They're okay. Those are like meh. They're fine.
So yeah, the thing with the Mammoth is their logo looks really cool if you look at it up close, because there's like a bunch of little nuggets kind of worked into it. There's like the outline of the state, and there's like a U worked into it somewhere. But when you just look at it on the jersey, you can't see all of that because they're like such fine details. And the logo itself looks kind of like weird and almost like EA Sports default team.
Oh yeah.
If you're just looking at it quick without like zooming in on all of the bonus stuff that's in there.
I feel like it's too bad we're not doing it on virtual or remote today because Bridget could pull these up. But if they could add like a nice like a maroon or like a purple into the Mammoth jerseys or something like that, kind of look like the Utah Jazz, that could be a good look. But
well, my thing with Utah from the start too has been that I thought they should have made that powder blue or light, whatever they're calling that blue color,
their home color.
Make that their primary color.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
There's a lot of black in hockey. There's a lot of primary black jerseys.
Like
Yeah, that would be sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, people can't see, but
it's like a powder blue, kind of like the same.
Google Utah Mammoth jersey. That's what Bridget just
Yeah,
Googled.
yeah. They're kind of like almost the same blue as like the Penguins. Classics.
Winter Classic ones. Yeah. Yep. Was there
right.
something else jersey I wanted to get to? Oh yeah, or somebody will be like, look at this sick design. It's on the inside of the back collar that nobody can see except for the hairs on the back of the guy's neck. It's like, oh, that's great. Nobody can see it. Cool. That's really cool that there's like a Bruin from 1905. Oh, that's awesome.
Hidden on the inside.
Yeah. Stitched by tradition. It's nobody can see that shit.
Guys, guess what?
Yeah.
I kind of gotta go. I think I locked myself out of my apartment.
Oh boy.
And I have to go ask for someone to let me in before 5.
What time is it?
It is 4:15.
Oh, you.
Well, I gotta post.
I'm not gonna disclose where you live, but I think you can crawl there if you really wanted to. And
I think we've said where I lived a few times now,
right.
but I just don't. I'm starting to get nervous over here.
Okay.
You know what? Funny you mentioned this, and Bridget, I apologize for extending this podcast.
How dare you?
I do it all the time in the world.
I'm just kidding. I'm not sorry at all. I was actually looking for a reason to. So, last week, first time in my life, I locked myself out of my car.
Wow.
Good.
So I always drive down the street. I go for a walk. There's a long esplanade along the Merrimack River in Lowell, and that's where I go for a lot of walks. So by the way, if you want to find me there for an autograph, most afternoons I'm out there.
He goes for escapades on the esplanade.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that implies something else. I don't.
This is why you should have just signed off.
But I pull over, go to get out. As I'm closing the door, I'm like, oh no. And I just can't stop the door in time. And my key's just like sitting there in the middle console.
Just
and I'm like,
looking in at them.
I'm just like, what an idiot. What a moron.
So how'd that play out? Did you have to call somebody?
Well, I have to call yes, I call AAA. I have a AAA membership, so like the roadside assistance is free with the membership.
Nice brag.
So like not that big of a deal, except that it took them like 45 minutes to come out and like let me into my car, and I could literally see the AAA, which is like right down the street. I'm like staring at the building. I can see the sign.
You just walked and knocked on the door.
Right, I could have just like walked over and be like, "Hey, can someone come help me?" Like,
you're talking to him on the phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming over right now," and you're like looking at him. He's just like on his computer.
Yeah.
Just eating noodles.
Hey, over here.
Oh, that's tough, Scott.
Don't
happens to the best of us.
What listeners should know is that don't trust us with keys. Don't trust us with parking our cars in general.
Don't trust Bridget with parking.
Don't trust me with parking your car in a garage or anything in there. Don't even park in the garage that I'm going to. There's a risk there. There's a risk involved.
Well,
that's why people should take public transportation to Bruins games, because then you don't have to park in the TD Garden garage with
and
Bridget.
I won't run you over.
I'm not sure which one of you I'd rather be less right now. Bridget at 4:20, not knowing if her keys are locked
420,
out.
hell
And
yeah.
my roommate is in Phoenix.
When the desk closes at 5, or Scott about to head into traffic to go back to Lowell.
I'm just gonna
at
stay with you
4:30
tonight,
in the afternoon.
Scott. I'm gonna have to stay with you until next Friday because my roommate's gone till then. Is that fine?
No, it's not.
My wallet is
You're not welcome.
my wallet is also in the apartment, so you have to pay for everything too.
Yeah, but Bridget pulled this earlier. We get bagel sandwiches after practice for lunch, and so I go up, I get mine. So I'm standing over to the side waiting. All of a sudden, Bridget comes over. I don't have my wallet. Can you pay for my sandwich? I'm like,
unreal.
What? Classic move. Like, oh yeah, I forgot my wallet. Yeah.
Everybody has Apple Pay these days, no?
I tried to set it up, didn't have my credit card, so I couldn't do it at the time. I'm gonna go back and do it now if I can get in my apartment. But I Venmo'd him, just for the record.
Oh boy. All right, guys. Let's wrap it up so Bridget can go home. Thank you all very much for listening. One last plug, because next week sometime is that Bruins rookie prospect. So again, there is going to be some rookie hockey to watch on September 12th, I believe, and maybe the 13th. So that's coming up. That's before training camp.
Yep, I think that, so that's not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. I think the first game might be that Friday.
Yeah, and then we're going to maybe go back, maybe still be at 2 episodes next week, and then maybe transition over to 3 with training camp maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll have to figure out, because we have the golf tournament Tuesday that I'll be down at, so that might be
tricky.
Tough day.
Maybe we
so
do Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Maybe
Possibly.
just pay attention to. We'll tweet out any updates and
Indeed.
when to expect episodes. So we'll
and
figure it out.
if I get back in my apartment, that will be updated.
All right. Thank you all very much for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.